So in another example of project fear becoming project reality, well, we have this report from Sky News, and they're saying that industry groups have told Parliament that some British ports will find it impossible to carry out checks on plant and fresh food if there is a no-deal Brexit. Now, we're about 45 days away from the end of the Brexit transition period, and the UK faces a fundamental change to the customs arrangements. Members of the British Ports Association, the BPA, appeared at the House of Lords EU Goods Subcommittee, and they said that some UK ports will not be able to cope if Britain goes the way of third country status when it comes to customs checks. Britain's largest container port at Felixstowe was said to be in chaos, with shipments delayed and ships being diverted to other ports instead. The BPA said that key parts of the government software that hauliers are expected to use on day one will not actually be ready for 2 weeks before Brexit Day on the 1st of January. They've also complained that it's been agonising when it comes to getting information from the government on how to proceed. Remember that Michael Gove had said that everything on the government side was ready to go, and that the responsibility lay with private businesses and operators. Well, that was a lie. The BPA told the House of Lords Committee, and I quote, "Their regimes that mirror those third country checks in a no-deal situation, as we may find ourselves in, effectively could be completely impossible for certain ports to accommodate with any practical, sensible approach." They went on to say, "It would put traders at a real disadvantage bringing their goods on certain routes if they know that a high percentage of those volumes need to be opened and inspected. We have found that very challenging." They added, "Remember, a lot of our goods come in from places like Rotterdam, our salads and other fresh food and meats. To stop those and inspect and open those consignments is something we really need to think about. This is all a consequence of our delisting from the single market. Effectively, our goods are subject to the full frontier controls." Now, the government has two, can we say, solutions to this. One is to carry out the checks on site, but most ports don't actually have the space to do this. It would also mean more staff would be needed, and it would result in a backlog. The second is for the carriers to go directly to the Farage Garages in Kent and have the goods checked and cleared there. But of course there are problems with this. The goods vehicle movement system, which I talked about before on this channel, is still in development, but is expected to launch about 2 weeks before the end of the transition period. As I said in that video, we all know that software that's not fully tested works perfectly the first time. The final insult at the committee hearing was actually from a Dutchman who was invited to speak. Mark Dijik, who works at the port of Rotterdam in the Netherlands, was asked how it was possible that his port in the EU was actually ready to deal with the mess, and his response was simple. He said, and I quote, "We have always said that whatever Brexit it is, will be a hard Brexit." The EU since the beginning knew that this would be a mess and prepared early. The UK ports were lied to by politicians and were told that everything would be okay, or that the EU would fold because Brexiteers held all the cards. Now, if people listening to this don't believe me, perhaps you should believe the British Port Association. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.